Right now, 55 million Americans use marijuana, and in Canada, dispensaries are popping up everywhere like they're Tim Hortons for weed. I, in Toronto, can even order THC drinks delivered to my front door from the Canadian government. Hi, it's Health Clips Daily. Let's dive into what happens when you quit marijuana. Weed is being pitched to us as kind of amazing, right? Well, a recent survey found that 4.3% of Americans have tried to quit marijuana at least 6 times and failed. Plus, now withdrawal symptoms are fully understood. So today, I'll explain exactly what happens to your body when you try to quit weed. Day 1 to 2 of quitting is when withdrawal symptoms start. A meta-analysis of over 23,000 people found that 47% experienced at least 3 symptoms: nausea, headaches, depressed mood, difficulty sleeping, sweating, anger, nervousness, decreased appetite, and strange dreams. Ding! Eerie music. Now, the risk of withdrawal symptoms is proportional to the amount of marijuana you've been consuming. For example, someone who used marijuana 3 times a week would likely experience fewer symptoms than someone who used it daily. Day 3 of quitting is when irritability and anxiety peak. Thankfully, these begin to fade afterward. But on the other hand, strange dreams and sleep issues only increase on day 3. This has led to new research suggesting that chronic cannabis users may induce intrinsic sleep problems. Around day 4 of quitting, the amazing physiological changes in your brain start to happen. Marijuana contains molecules that mimic natural neurotransmitters already in your brain, called cannabinoids. At baseline, cannabinoids circulate in lower quantities, but when you ingest marijuana, you flood your system with more. Most notably, the psychoactive component THC, or delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, which I call THC for noobs. When I see someone with an edible, I ask, "How much delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol do you have in there, bud?" THC resembles the natural neurotransmitter, anandamide, and creates increased neuronal activity in certain parts of your brain, causing thoughts, imagination, and perception to magnify. The THC binding to neurons also impacts dopamine and norepinephrine levels, which can lead to euphoria, pain modulation, and anxiety. But the thing is, as you continue to consume weed, it becomes harder to quit. You start desensitizing and downregulating your endocannabinoid receptors, specifically the CB1 receptor. Since this receptor modulates short-term memory, increased cannabis use causes a decrease in short-term memory. THC also affects neurons involved in the experience of novelty. When THC binds to specific neurons, it creates an exciting sense of novelty, even for mundane tasks like washing dishes. It's why you might get stoned and walk down your same street feeling like everything's in bloom, even if it's winter. But regular cannabis use leads to downregulation of these neurons, making it harder to feel the bliss of new experiences while sober. After too much weed, you might go to Paris for the first time and think, "That's it? A lighthouse? Oh, it's the Eiffel Tower. Pointless, right? Should we go up it? No, let's just go home." But thankfully, on day 4 of quitting marijuana, the CB1 receptors will likely return to normal functioning. Essentially, it only takes around 4 days of abstinence for your neurons to go back to baseline. This is new research, and I think it's crucial we keep studying this, especially as marijuana's popularity skyrockets. We need long-term evidence about how it affects our brains. I focus on how THC impacts our systems. How you get THC into your body might involve smoking, which could have lasting effects on your lungs. But there's also a specific way THC can affect your brain long-term. If you consume too much during adolescence, like I did in grade 10, you can create lasting neurophysiological effects. Yeah, I started smoking weed in high school, and as a closeted gay kid with no other gay friends, I was drawn to the stoner, skater crowd because, honestly, they were the coolest. I also always had that gay voice, so when people said, "You're gay," I'd reply, "Actually, I'm kind of a quirky skater bro. Like Avril Lavigne, but a boy." As a queer kid, weed was an asset. But now the science suggests I could have been damaging my neurophysiology long-term. Was it worth it? Because when it comes to marijuana's lasting neuron effects, the age of your brain matters. Back to days 5 to 7 of quitting. Most people who try to stop marijuana will fail during this window. It's the toughest time, especially if you're dependent. Dependence means habitual use, despite impairments or social, psychological, or physical issues. Scientists agree dependence on marijuana exists but is less severe than with alcohol, cocaine, or opiates. For me, I still consume weed, decades later, thankfully not daily, and I wonder if I'm dependent. It's during days 5 to 7 that I often find myself ordering a little edible from the Gov and taking my Just Dance skills to the next level. Honestly, weekends for me mean watching movies stoned. In fact, I don't think I've ever entered a movie theater without being high. To me, theaters are for munchies, spending $79,000 on the biggest popcorn, pouring fake cheese on top, and eating gummies to clean my teeth. Nachos with extra fake cheese, enough to kill a small horse. Horse shrieking loudly. Finally, if you make it to day 28 without weed, all withdrawal symptoms usually disappear. Your endocannabinoid system and CB1 receptors will be back to normal. Maybe you'll even be able to understand a movie again. I'm not saying you should just quit weed right now, but it's important to understand what happens if you do decide to stop. Life is hard, and education and learning help us make better choices. Science shows us that quitting weed isn't as simple as it seems. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next week with a new science video. Peace.